Today is December 17th, Sunday, and it's a pleasure to welcome Dr. Ted Jewett, my associate at Children's Hospital in Minneapolis for many years, and many of his friends from his synagogue. According to our Hindu calendar, the name of the year is called Hemalambi. The month is Marga Shirsha. It's the second fortnight, Krishna Paksha. It is the 14th day. Tomorrow is a new moon day. The Rutu or the season is called Hemanta Rutu, and the sun is moving southwards. Today's topic is Japa. It means a Sanskrit word, and it means a repetition of a word or a short sentence during meditation. The word comes from a Sanskrit root called Jap, meaning repeating softly or muttering. But when you look at the same word in a much deeper sense, Ja stands for one that puts end to the cycles of birth, growth, decay, disease, and death, Ja, Janma. And Pa stands for that entity which removes and destroys all impurities and obstacles to gaining the knowledge. Therefore, Japa is an indirect means of liberation or moksha. That means reaching to that state where you go beyond any sense of limitations. So Japa in Sanskrit, we always like to describe it as a samas. It's a way for liberation, and it's not simply a discipline, but an important way, a technique. In Sanskrit is called Janma Marana Vyadhi Parajaya Mantra. Janma Marana Vyadhi Purnata Mantra iti Japa. As a matter of fact, in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Shri Krishna says, it is called Vibhuti Yoga, Yajnanam Japa Yajñosmi Sthavaranam Himalaya. The best of all the kind of sacrifices or rituals one can do, I'm the Japa Yajna. And amongst the immovables, I'm the mighty Himalayas. Japa means reciting the name of God or a mantra, which usually comes as a sacred chant from the book of wisdom, or even a single syllable like a word like Om. This repetition is in order to invoke the spirit of devotion in the hearts of every devotee. Now, Japa sung in Sanskrit with proper intonations perhaps is the best, since it produces proper and most effective vibrations that benefits the devotee, even in gaining the spiritual glow over the period of years if you continue that japa. And even if one does not have a full grasp of the deep meaning of Gayatri Mantra at the time when the sacred thread ceremony is undertaken by a young person, that's what we do in bar mitzvah, bat mitzvahs. But one is able to accomplish the deep understanding of the same message that is given by the teacher through the guidance of an enlightened teacher or guru. And if time permits, I'll certainly have a chance to discuss with you the word or the mantra that is given at the time when you take the sacred thread ceremony as a young man. And we'll discuss the Gayatri Mantra meaning at the end. Okay, let's look at it from an analytical point of view. At a given time, there's only one thought is in our mind. But what the next thought would be anybody's guess. But nonetheless, no second thought ever comes in our mind without certain connection with the preceding thought. The connection may be flimsy, but then it may be very clear and logical as well. I was with my teacher, Swami Dayananda, in Pocono Mountains a few years ago. And he, while giving a discourse, looked outside and saw a BMW car running down the road. And he used that to explain to us how a thought process could go in all different directions. So as he described in his BMW thinking, you hold on to the next thought and then leave the previous one. Then again, you hold on to the next thought, leaving the previous one. The lingering content of the initial thought connects you to the next thought. So connection causes the process to move away from the BMW to Germany, from Germany to World War II, from World War II to Pearl Harbor to Hawaii, Hawaii to Hawaiian beaches, then we come across the bright hot sunshine, and then to melanoma. Ouch. We started with BMW and ended up with melanoma on the back, for which you had to go and see Dr. Ted Jewett. Poor patient. This is exactly how the mind works. This is what we call a monkey mind. Jumping from one tree to the next tree without any deliberate process. However, we can clearly see how such a type of thinking and rapid build-up of multiple thoughts can start arising in our human mind with flimsy connections, which can create restlessness for all of us. Of course, such restlessness, you have to work. You have to create a build-up of many thoughts, and then the mind becomes restless. Often one simple thing triggers a series of thoughts that are built up in the mind so rapidly that it can be rightfully termed as a miracle. Season of miracles, guys. On that day, my teacher Swami Dayananda gave an example of a relatively young man who was combing his hair in the morning before heading to his office. And what he saw while combing in his brush, a lot of extra hair came out. Once his mind did not like that fact, his mind was off and running the entire day on that topic. And the mind got clogged up with the related thoughts, making him restless all through his office hours. Restlessness requires a build-up to which I, myself, may not be quite party at that time. Yet the build-up is unquestionably mine because it comes in my mind. I do not look upon it as any different than myself. I see myself fuming, having to see in imagination going bald pretty soon. Why is it that I cannot keep track of this thought by thought build-up? This is because the whole habit of thinking has been noodle thinking, associative or non-directional rapid thinking. You know what noodle thinking is? Well, you have a plate of spaghetti in front of you, and you want to take one peculiar noodle from that dish, and you ain't going to succeed at it. You try to take one noodle out, many other adjacent noodles come out too. So this is what we call a non-directional rapid thinking. You try to take one, but something other come, and many other come at the same time. One may say, wait a minute, let's nip such thoughts in the bud in order not to allow this kind of thinking. This is much easier said than done, since there is no bud to nip off. Once a single dandelion, everybody knows in Minnesota, once a single dandelion of one nasty thought appears before you know, it turns into a jungle of thoughts in no time. The very beginning of such a thinking is an association of I. Without that, however, the thoughts would not begin. This mechanical thinking, associated as it were with I, has no specific reason. But if I can give my mind a meaningful occupation wherein such chain thinking is broken, then the interval that obtains between the successive thoughts can reveal a great fact, a real truth about myself. That I'm indeed the silence between the two thoughts. Logically, I can see how restlessness requires a build-up. There is a peace, something which is natural to every one of us, which I or anybody else does not need to do anything about it. I do not create peace. Only what I create is the restlessness in my peaceful mind. Unlike such kind of thinking with flimsy connections of thoughts, when we perform the japa, since it has to be repeated, we already know what is coming next. The japa can be a word or a short sentence or a meaningful mantra, as I mentioned earlier. Or it could be a single syllable, as I quoted earlier, like Om. But the key for the process of japa, it has to be repeated in its entirety. Exercising choice is very important in japa. If I choose to mentally chant a mantra for a length of time, then I have a technique in hand and I can see what happens in my mind because I know exactly what is to come next. If something else pops up, I know this is not to be expected, and I bring it back, the chosen thought. In that process, I learn how to dismiss unwanted thoughts and retain only the one thought that I have chosen to bring up. The mantra is often handed down by one's teacher or guru. This is usually a spiritual mentor. And japa is a meaningful chant, invokes the basic person in each and every one of us. And you have to be that basic person when you're performing the japa. The advantage of this repetition is that you can appreciate the distinct interval between the two successive occupations of the mind. In the case of BMW, the name of the vehicle and Germany as the country that produces it have a distinct connection, and hence the interval between the two thoughts is often naturally missed. Repeating a given chant eliminates or avoids this connection between those two thoughts. The chant is complete by itself, complete unit by itself, and one thought is not connected to the second thought, and since both of them are complete, same, and identical. Thus, between the two chants, there is a distinct pause or a silent period that we can clearly recognize. What is it that obtains in the interval between the chants? This interval has no specific name, shape, or form. Or Sanskrit is called, there is no nama rupa, is not there. This is what we call peace or silence. Because this silence has no particular thought form, there is no thinking as it we know it. We always think that peace is something that we have to acquire from somewhere else. People frequently ask, give me some peace for heaven's sake. Because our mind is often restless, we think that peace is something new and that we have to acquire it from somewhere outside, an attribute with which we have to embellish the mind to find happiness. Okay, let's look at it. Is peace something that we have to acquire, or is it natural? Okay. In japa, I have deliberately creating a thought. So because I have a will, I can choose. In this way, I become the author of a given thought. I create a specific thought because I have chosen it. Whereas the silence that ensues is not created by me. In fact, silence is the very basis of all thoughts. In the Sanskrit play, Panchadashi, the mind is likened to a dancer on the lighted stage. The dancer portrays a variety of aesthetic sentiments: love, anger, helplessness, cruelty, wonderment, fright. The light on the stage lights up the dancer, her moods, and the relevant changes, and when she exits, when she leaves the stage, it lights up an empty stage. With all the dances expressing various powerful sentiments, the light on the stage remains uninvolved. It merely illumines. The light itself is not a doer, much less an enjoyer of the dance. Nor does it light up the stage as one of its jobs. The nature of the light is simply to illumine, and it illumines. The verb illumine, in Sanskrit called prakash, involves no action or motive on the part of the light. Therefore, the light has no doership. Similarly, when I have a thought and the thought goes away, what remains is the silence, which is likened to the empty stage without the dancer. To me, that is sounds of silence. Nature of the thought and silence. As a matter of fact, when we go on the temple tour afterwards, the simple symbol that we have created on each of the windows and the doors is a lit candle, because that particular represents the light or the consciousness. It represents immortality, it expresses the wisdom, and basically takes away the darkness of ignorance and the natural death which is given to living beings. Let's talk about nature of the thought and silence. Absence of thought is generally looked upon as peace, something to be achieved. Thought can be suppressed or negated by certain external means, such as practice of breath control. When you retain the breath, you cannot think. One can always check this out. Don't do it right now. But if you try to hold up your nose tightly, you cannot think about anything except let me breathe. That's the only thought is incoming in your mind. Nothing else comes up. Here, when we are maintaining that japa, we are not merely interested in the absence of thought, but to understand the nature of the thought and nature of that silence. The whole approach needs to be cognitive. It has to be intelligent, reason for it. Thought happens sometimes with my sanction and sometimes without it. When the thought goes, I understand its absence as the nature of silence. That's me. I'm silence. What I experience or am aware of between the two thoughts is silence. If I see silence after every thought, should I take myself to be the thought or the silence? Well, the answer is very clear. Before the rise of the thought, I'm silence. And after the thought arises and departs, I'm silence. I being the silence first and also the last, it is very clear that I am silence. The practice of japa does not give me this understanding. But by doing japa, I do create a situation wherein something that is clearly understood becomes, initially kindly understood, becomes very clearly understood when you continue doing the japa. In spite of those thoughts, I understand I am silence. What I'm saying, the thoughts will keep coming, but nonetheless, when you do the japa, you come to realize that your nature is the silence. That's the sound. By being aware of the silent interval between the thoughts, you gain the capacity to nip a thought in the bud. Just as you see poison ivy in your garden, you do not let it grow, you get rid of it. So too, by being aware of the interval between the thoughts, you gain the capacity to nip the meaningless thought in the very bud. That is exactly what we do and must do while doing the japa. So principle, chant, stop. Chant, stop. Now this kind of chanting, one becomes clearly aware of the silent interval that reveals your true nature, which is silence, awareness, consciousness, sounds of silence. Japa is a sadhana. By doing japa regularly, I understand that I'm silence, the space between the role and the person. Some other discussion we'll talk about. You may think that you're lowering, but you're playing a role of lowering. We'll talk about it some other time. So you understand by doing japa the space between the role and the person who really are, the Atman. The space is not spatial. Role playing without losing self-awareness is possible through this sadhana, backed by knowledge about one's true nature. This sadhana is a form of worship which is very effective and leads the devotee straight towards the desired goal. Once we are committed to repeating a given chant, mentally our mind automatically goes to japa whenever it is free. It does not turn on the music, does not turn on the TV, but automatically goes to japa. Just as, if you can imagine in your mind, we've been there a few times, as crystal clear waters arising from the mountaintop snows while flowing downwards creates new channels. Remember Pelgam? So too can this regular and inevitable habit of turning our minds towards the thoughtful japa at any free moment will create certain tracks, roads, systems, habits in your thinking. This in turn create a healthy, meaningful pattern of prayerful attitude towards our Ishta Devata. God in any name, Lord by any name, and again, as far as we'll discuss it upstairs, divinity pervades through the entire creation. We use a particular form of Lord to focus our mind from distractions, and then with that understanding, we recognize the divinity is all over. By repeating the name of the Lord or a meaningful mantra, we are inserting healing and purifying thoughts in our mind to slowly transform the composition of our mind. With this transformative power, mantras protect the mind by overcoming the spiritual darkness and awaken our inner transcendental energy. In japa, we are allowing this mind to think the way we want it to think. When we are solving a math problem, we make our mind think what we want it to think. Remember, we are going at 60 miles an hour and our distance to the temple is 30 miles. How much time will it take? So you start using your mind, you're going at 60 miles an hour, how to go 30 miles, it's going to be half an hour. So again, that's how you're making the mind think. So in japa, you're making the mind think in a particular pattern. So exactly the same way when we're doing the japa, we engage the mind and let the thoughts flow only in that particular direction. Well, japa is a repetition of the mantra or the same name of the Lord. Dhyana is a meditation on the form of Lord with its attributes. Meditation can be with or without japa. When it is along with the japa, it's called japa sahit, along with japa. Or it can be japa rahit, that means without any japa. As a matter of fact, as one advances, the japa will drop off by itself, and only thing that remains is a deep meditation. We are literally doing japa all the time. Wait a minute, surprise. We are doing japa all the time, but we know it not unless somebody points it out to you. I hope you're breathing. On an average, we breathe about 15 times a minute. So we are taking 21,600 breaths during our 24-hour period. So when we breathe in, so what do you say? So what a so comes in. And when you're blowing out, hum. So what we're doing, our making the coin in and out is so hum. And in Sanskrit, everything can be explained. Saha is so, and aham is me. And Saha represents the Brahman, or the Paramatman, or the God. So what I'm saying is, in every breath I take, that I'm indeed none different than Brahman. Anything you do should be meaningful. Initially, one may not know the proper meaning of the chant, as I mentioned earlier, but one needs to know that it is meaningful. As long as you know it is meaningful, you'll follow it carefully, and in due course of time, you'll meet the mentors on the way who will give you the deeper meaning of that particular mantra. Over the years, through the teachings and guidance of a living guru, combined with personal studies and reflections, the deeper meaning of the chant or japa becomes crystal clear and illumines the mind of the devotee during the meaningful chanting. Now, japa can be of three different kinds. It's called Vaikhari, Upanshu, and Manas. What does that mean, Dr. Sane? Okay, Vaikhari means loud. Upanshu means muttering softly. And Manas is in your mind. As you gradually progress, it becomes from loud to soft to disappearing. And as a matter of fact, it's good to start with loud because it's important vibration fall on your body. Guru who knows the disciples well because he spends time with him day in out, 24 hours, passes on a specific mantra for a specific every disciple, appropriate for that disciple, who then can continue the benefit from them as they continue their healthy habit. The understanding of the deep meaning of the mantra ensues over a period of time and becomes an integral part of that individual's personality. There are several important mantras, I'll just say in Sanskrit. So, one is called Gayatri Mantra, Om Bhur Bhuvasva Tatsa Viturvarenyam Bhargo O Devasya Dhimai Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Ganesh Gayatri Om Gam Ganapate Nma Ekadantaye Vidmahe Vakratandaya Dhimai Tanno Dante Prachodayat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. और मृत्युंजय मंत्र त्र्यंबकम यजामहे सुगंधिम पुष्टिवर्धनम उर्वारुकम वंदनात् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्. Or a single word that I mentioned to you, Om, that you start with every meditation or yoga that you put. Other one is Shivoham, and you're breathing every moment, Soham. I had promised you earlier that I'll discuss with you Gayatri Mantra. So here it goes. Only thing I'll mention to you is, before I start on Gayatri Mantra, this is what we use at home. These are 108 beads of sandalwood pieces which I use, and of course that's the top one, start here and end up at this particular level. Or sometimes we use Rudrakshava. This is 36 beads, and then you go 3 times around to complete 108. So these are the two that we use, and everyone has a separate one, and usually it is blessed by the teacher who has initiated you. But today what we discuss is a mantra that is usually given at the time of bar mitzvah, at the time of sacred thread ceremony. As I mentioned to you, it goes like this: Om Bhur Bhuvasva Tatsa Viturvarenyam Bhargo O Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. This Gayatri Mantra is so profound in its meaning that if you have studied this mantra, it is taught as if you have studied the entire Vedas in your lifetime. Amazingly, it appears in all the 4 books of Vedas. It appears in Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and Atharva Veda. It's a very powerful mantra and chanted by people of all ages, both by men and women. The mantra is usually handed down at the time of the sacred third ceremony. For a young child, it's only a simple word meaning which is passed on. However, after initiation by enlightened teacher, Guru, the mother lode of spiritual wisdom passes on to a young devotee. This mantra was written by Brahmarshi Vishwamitra, and this is both a means of worship and also the object of worship. Gayatri is also a Vedic meter which is sung. There are 8 different kinds. One of them is Gayatri Mantra. It's called Gayatri Mantra because it represents one particular kind of deity. Well, Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha, they represent Bhu means earth, Bhuva means space, and Swaha means heavens. Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha, Tat Savitur, to that sun god, Dhimahi, we pray with our heart and mind, Dhimahi, to God, Om, God Savitru, the sun god who creates, sustains, and resolves. Because after a little while, we earthlings will get too hot and it will resolve. It's just a matter of allowing the life to start, sustain as it is doing in these times for millions of years, and resolve in due course of time. Tat Savitur Dhimai. We will pray that with our heart and mind. But who is this Savitru? Who is this sun god? What are the qualities? Devasya, that means one who is effulgent, radiant, and spotless. One who is all-knowing, Bhargo, and Varenyam, that is most worshipful. And one who bestows on us eternal, infinite, and full life, and bestows the immortality as we are, because our original nature is Brahman. So if I had to read the meaning in entirety without breaking into Sanskrit words to bore you, we say we pray with our heart and mind to God, Om, God Savitru, Sun God, one who creates, sustains, and resolves earth, celestial space, heavens, and everything beyond. The God who is effulgent, radiant, spotless, one who is all-knowing, all-consciousness, and most worshipful, one who is eternal, infinite, and full of life, one who bestows immortality in each and every one of us. That is the simple meaning of Gayatri Mantra. And let me conclude with talking briefly about Vishwamitra, one who created this Gayatri Mantra. And to me, his life is really a perfect example for each one of us to pursue, but make sure that you reach the ultimate goal he did achieve. So as I mentioned to you, this is a gift from Sage Vishwamitra. He is the writer of the 3rd book of Rig Veda. He was one of the greatest Vedic rishis of his time, who through his life story exemplified for all of us human beings how to overcome our human frailties and reach that state of perfection through personal efforts, patience, perseverance, and challenging penances. He began as a great king, and his name was Vishwarata. That means he was a Rajarshi, he was a powerful king, and he was, with his chariot, traveled all over the world. Not by 747s, but traveled all over. But he was not satisfied because he wanted to add a spiritual power. He wanted to move from Rajarshi to Brahmarshi. And this brought him in contact with and conflict with Sage Vashishta, who was the Brahmarshi of his times. He was the greatest and the purest Rishi at that time. He was the mentor or teacher of God Rama. This Vishwamitra persisted through all the difficulties and challenges thrown at him, including those created by his own ambition and human frailties. After a long period of struggle, through his willpower and tapas, penances, and the grace received from God, and ultimately through the blessings of Brahmarshi Vashishta, he ultimately reached the goals of self-realization, reaching the status of Brahmarshi himself. During his time, as I mentioned, human frailties, when he was pursuing his spiritual conquest, he fell in love with celestial nymph called Menaka, which resulted in the birth of the majestic beauty called Shakuntala. Shakuntala herself later, going through her own trials and tribulations in her own life, became to dear queen of King Dushyanta, and from whom was the son born called Bharata. And from that arises the word of India as Bharata or Bharatvarsha. As a matter of fact, India was the name given by Greek followers who followed comments of Pythagoras, who came to India in 523 BC, and he mispronounced Sindhu as Indus, and that India and Indians come about. And we were called Hindus, we discussed it last time, but was when the Persian people came to India between 540 BC to 486 BC range, going back to Persia, they called Sindhu River as Hindu River. That's why they call Hindus. But really speaking, our way of living is, eternal way of living, is based upon spiritual values. That's all there is. We discussed it last time. So, this power dynasty, coming from Dushyanta, Shakuntala to Bharat, and Vishwamitra's created Gayatri Mantra, India carries the blood and spirit of Sage Vishwamitra. And his life story teaches us how to overcome our personal human frailties and still fulfill all the goals of our human existence and ultimately reach our divine potentials. Having reached these lofty goals, Vishwamitra did not stop from serving others and continued to write various educational mantras for the mankind, and that is one of the mantras which I share. Last comment I want to make is, we live in the 21st century, when our energy resources are being outstripped to increasing demands all around the world. So let's talk about solar energy within and without. The Vedas, as I described earlier during the morning, worship the sun, which is the source of light for planet Earth, and for that matter, the entire solar system. In reality, this light is not merely a material force, but the power of life, love, and intelligence. Because without the sunlight, we human beings or no living beings could survive. Solar power is the ultimate answer for the energy crisis because it's a clean source of energy that is unlimited. The Vedas are said to reside in the rays of the sun, which hold the Vedic mantras. The Vedas are the manifestation of solar intelligence, the light of consciousness on this earth. According to Vedas, the inner sun is prana, or vital energy, which manifests itself through breath, our own breath. The Gayatri Mantra encourages creative thinking, not as a mere human invention, but as an integral part of cosmic intelligence. It exhorts us to attune ourselves to the cosmic mind and its laws of dharma, or the righteous living. So Brahmarshi Vishwamitra states in Rigveda, 3rd book, 53rd section, 12th verse, that this Gayatri Mantra protects all descendants all human beings, where they may reside on this planet. And referring to the sacred Gayatri Mantra, he says, Vishwamitrasya rakshati brahmamedam bharatam janam. So humanity must remember that the cosmic consciousness or Paramatman in Sun is the life-giving universal energy which manifests in us in the form of breath of life, prana. Our role in cosmos is to exhibit the full glory of divine light of consciousness or knowledge into the darkness of the physical matter. This is not simply an issue of mere science or technology. It requires an intense pursuit of inner science, of yoga and meditation to accomplish human potentials fully in the form of enlightenment of the mind, just as we can draw unlimited solar energy to satisfy the energy needs of our daily existence. I'll stop at this particular time, answer some questions, and maybe we'll conclude with a brief meditation for the whole group. Any questions or comments? Yes, Lori.
Why do you think most people are uncomfortable with silence?
Lori, it's a very intelligent and important question. The question was, how come people are uncomfortable with silence? As soon as they walk in the room, they're turning the music on, turning the TV on. Because, you know what? They haven't come to realize how wonderful we ourselves are. Once you find the inner peace is your nature, you naturally move towards that. You don't have to go to the Macy's and buy silence. But it is your nature, so you automatically find the peace. Automatically you create a habit of doing mantra because that allows you to cool off. Because when you're meditating, what you're doing is we're drawing all your extrinsic stimuli down to minimal. And then you're turning your energy inwards when you start meditation. The japa drops off. And when it drops off, you continue to go inside and inside because that's where you find the greatest happiness. And then you reach a state of samadhi when you're connected with yourself. As a matter of fact, people get confused. You know it, or you come here regularly. But when we talk about yoga, people think that basically they're doing asanas. That's just one of the 8 steps that we take. What is righteous living? Yama niyama. What to do for yourself, what habits to have, and how to have the habits when you're interacting with people. Yama niyama. Then you have to have breath control, pranayama. Then, of course, asanas, because that allows you to maintain your physical strength and supple nature and your strength of the joints. But then you have to bring all the distractions down through dharana, pratyahara, that you start reflecting yourself. And then you go into meditation, dhyana. And then, as you rightly said afterwards, you connect to samadhi. So there are 8 different steps. Because they don't know how good they are. That's why they want noise. Okay?
I'm Harold Robinson, a rabbi in the Dr. Sherman Synagogue. We appreciate your welcoming us and
Pleasure to have you.
it's organized.
As a matter of fact, at the time of Yom Kippur, I was with Marshal Zimmerman in Temple Israel.
I was curious about your discussion earlier about the thought process and the value of isolating thoughts. If there's something very rich about having many thoughts going at once, that can also lead to creativity. So what is the value of isolating a single thought independent of others?
Good, I'm glad you asked that question. But then what are you doing in just single thought? You are putting out the fire around. Only thing that is left is that single thought. And the teacher or the guru or the enlightened has passed on one particular chant for you to sing all the time. And that chant has an important deep meaning. So what you're doing in that time is only concentrating on the deep enlightening message that the teacher has given. So what you have done in that process is you've chopped off all the fire around which is disturbing you, and your mind is totally glued on one important enlightening thought. So that's how you're able to do it. So you're trying to get it off the garbage, I don't know what garbage day is at home, but on that day you want to get rid of everything. And even the morning thing that you collected, you throw in your garbage can before the garbage man shows up. So you want everything out. So you're trying to get rid of all your thoughts. Only thing thought you're keeping is the enlightening thought that your mentor that whom you respect, which is chanting the name of the Lord, because that Lord, and you come to understand it, is no different than you are. Tattvamasi. And that's what you have to identify your identity with the divinity and be one. Because to simply explain to you, the way I clearly see it is, when God created this creation, I know for a fact He did not go to Home Depot, He did not go to Menards or Lowe's, any store to get any material, but God created this creation from within. So if God created us and the entire creation from within, we are all divine. It's just a simple common sense. So both the intelligent cause and material cause of this creation being divine, it stands to reason that we are all divine. What only thing that is important for us as human beings is to remember it by turning off that radio or the TV and turn inwards and reconnect yourself, replug yourself, reboot yourself, and live in that spirit. That's why you do. Good question. Yes, please.
My question is, if we have to practice the japa when our, like on the kids, when they are from their childhood, if we can start that practice. I know that we cannot control their thought, but if, how we can explain them, because for me, I used to repeat the mantra what my mom used to say, but truly I never think in this way that I have to control my another thought. But if I had to make that practice in the kids, so how we can explain them that how to control our other thoughts and be yourself for that time with that mantras.
So your question basically is how you pass that message to your children?
Yeah, my children or maybe any other children.
Sure. We are all God's children, so that's good. How to pass the message to other, especially younger generation. As a matter of fact, your children go to the hat school here?
Yeah.
You know how we start the assembly, conclude the assembly?
Yeah.
With a brief period of meditation. And amazingly, as you will see, when the students come in the classroom, we run about a Sunday school for 300 plus students here. They start with meditation in the assembly hall before they break into different small classes. But those children, their behavior is far superior than would be without that meditation. As a matter of fact, is Arvind here by any chance? Naik? He did not come again. We ran a competition for young children to remain in meditation for 30 minutes. And we didn't expect everybody will stay. But not only all the 75 children stayed for 30 minutes, and they were still in meditations. We looked at each other. We stayed another 15 minutes, 45 minutes. And then we had some other things to do, so we stopped it at that time. What I'm trying to say is, once they get used to it and find happiness and contentment, they don't want to give up. As a matter of fact, my hope and prayers are that my children from the school here will bring that habit to their parents who don't do meditation at all. So it is Baladapi Subhashitam Graham. I'm not saying that you should not pass it on to children, but by doing it yourself with them, they have learned, and the children do it here at the temple. At the same time, the only way to teach somebody is by setting an example. You see, all children are anukarana shilaihi taihi markataihi, so they are one who like to imitate. They don't listen to your words, they watch what you do. So that's the only way to do it. Okay? Thank you. Any questions? Any more? If there are no questions, then I think what I would suggest is slowly cut down the lights, maybe if somebody can at the back, and we'll do some meditation for about 5-10 minutes till the time we get bored. Okay? Yeah, Lori is going to. It's about, what time is it? 11:30? Yeah, that's fine. What you need to do is just simply relax your body. Close your eyes if you like. If you don't, just keep it partly closed. Look straight. Make sure that you're most comfortable in the position that you want to be in, nothing else. And then what you do is try to drop the thoughts as we were discussing this morning. Bring in your mind the image of the Lord that you feel most comfortable. And if you don't have any particular image, pick up any good thought that your rabbi has taught you or your teacher in the temple has suggested to you, and just keep on saying it in your mind till the time it stops and you fall into meditation. You can gradually get up slowly. Don't try to get up right away. Just gradually open your eyes. It's always good to sit in the chair for a little while before you get up. Well, thank you guys.